How can you level up at work? Do you feel like you're not really using your full potential at work? Or that you're not recognized and rewarded for the work you do? Have you ever wondered how you can fast track your career, climb the professional ladder, and make more money? Wherever you are in your career, there are ways for you to level up. And it's to discuss exactly how you can do that I have invited Judith Escalier for this amazing podcast episode. In fact, this is a recording from the live event during Money Week 2024. And there was so much amazing feedback after this interview. I'm really confident that this has a ton of value for you. Judith is a certified executive coach and leadership training coach at Creciendo. She has coached hundreds of people in Belgium across all levels and provides training to professionals in many industries, including Fortune 500 companies. Judith specializes in helping people perform better in all areas of life, unleash their full potential, and reach their personal and professional goals. Here are the key topics that we discuss in this episode. What are the keys to level up at work and make more money? What are the 6 ways for you to create more value for yourself and your employer? How you can enhance your executive presence, which is a very important term that we discuss at length in this episode, and your leadership skills. How important are gravitas, communication, and body language? Gravitas being another concept that's really important in discussion that you will get to better understand. How mindset can help you overcome barriers and position yourself for success. Of course, we all know mindset is important, but we go through very specific examples here so that you see how you can apply it in your own life. And finally, why is adopting T-shaped skills crucial for career growth and creating a unique value proposition? This sounds like a lot of technical skills, but basically, in this conversation with Judith, we talk about all the important ways and all the small things and big things that you can do to get better at work, be more fulfilled, deliver more value, feel happier, and make more money. I wish I knew all of this at the beginning of my career. Hi, my name is Sebastian Aguilar, and I am the founder of Fire Belgium, a community where we learn to take control of our finances, earn more, save better, invest better, so that we can live more and give more. And today we speak about how to make more money. And on the side, I also teach how to invest better in a simple and effective way, in a way that doesn't take you much time to actually research the market or do anything like that. And that delivers way more value for you than what the banks provide. And this way is simply investing through index funds, index ETFs. And I have a free workshop on the website that you can check out anytime. It's at firebelgium.com/investing workshop. And in that workshop, I explain how it works, why it works so well, which is basically that's how I invest and that's how I reach financial independence, and how you can get started too. It's a free workshop, so I invite you to check it out. In the meantime, enjoy this episode. Cheers. Today, we're going to speak about how to level up at work, whether that's as an employee or outside of employment, but certainly it works for employees as well. And I want us to talk about this because it has been a major part in my personal career. So in the way that I have arrived to financial independence was massively due to the fact that I landed a high-paying job and I kept going up the career ladder. And so it was all through regular employment, but like supercharged on the earning side. And so certainly I want to deconstruct this. I want to learn from someone who has experience helping people go up that career ladder because it has been such an important part of my journey, right? The investing is one part, the earning is one part, and then how to save money is certainly something that's also important. But it's really the combination of those three that made it possible. And I want to make sure we talk about how to make more money because it makes everything else far easier. Right. And for that, we have Judith today with us. Judith, I think we're going to start right with the big question. Judith, how do we get better? How do we level up? And how do we make more money at work?
Well, thank you for inviting me, Sebastian. A pleasure to be here. I'm going to say that the very first thing that we all need to do is to ask ourselves why. because this is the only way we're going to keep motivated. We need to make a clear reflection of why do we want to level up at work? Why do we want to grow and go up the career ladder? And once we understand that and we understand our values, whatever these be, climbing the corporate ladder or having more freedom or having more flexibility, once we understand that, that is really going to save us when things start to get busy and harder. There is this phrase that says, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Actually, I believe that when the going gets tough is the why that keeps you going, because you know the reasons why you are working towards something. So that is the number one thing we need to do. And then we start going into things like creating more value for the company you are working on, creating more value for the position where you are working on. But other things that go most into the soft skills as well, building your executive presence. And then we can also talk about networking and creating your T-shaped skills. So we could deep dive in each of them if you would like to.
Yes, please. So we have a lot of time of ahead of us, and certainly all of those aspects are, to me, really interesting. And so you start by saying that we need to figure out the why first.
Mhm.
Can you tell us more a bit about that?
Yes, I find that values change throughout life according to the moment of life that we are. Maybe when we are single, just graduated from university, our values become, I need to climb the corporate ladder as fast as possible. I need to have a lot of money. I need to have a lot of power. And that's fine, because at that stage of life, that is what is driving you. But when we have a family, when we have kids, most of people start changing their values and start also having a different perspective of what they want to see in their career. I see that people who have a family, at least with my clients, they suddenly start switching more into having flexibility and having independence. So now it's not only chasing the money and the power because of the sake of having more money or more power, but actually to have more freedom, to have more days off, to spend time with family, to have more quality time. And this is why a lot of clients also will go looking into financial independence, because that is how they want to live in their upcoming years, to have a little bit more flexibility in that regard. So this is why it's so important that at this stage of life, you think, if your goal is to level up at work, to understand why are you doing it, because that's what's going to keep you going as well.
Yeah, and it makes sense that the why and the reasons why we want to do things at work, they change over time because our needs change,
Mhm.
right? And as you said, as we get a family, then we maybe have different priorities. Do you see that sometimes leading to conflict in terms of people being in positions where, it's a position they've acquired because they were chasing something, and then at some point their values are changing or what they want really out of work is changing, but they're kind of stuck in a position that maybe is asking for something else from them and it doesn't really align anymore?
And we know it a lot with the name of the midlife crisis, but actually I have seen it with people not in their 40s, but clients who are also 35 or even 45, that are actually, they thought that they were happy with the choices they made in life, and then suddenly when they start realizing, look, I'm not very happy with this anymore, I would like to do something different, or I would like to reinvent myself, there is this limiting belief that, oh, can I do it? I spent so many times in becoming an expert on this, can I switch, or can I just do something different, or can I grow in a different direction? So this is all these conversations that we get to have in the coaching sessions, to unpack what's really behind and to try to understand, look, this is actually about the mindset and the beliefs. And with a growing mindset, you will realize that everything that you have done is not lost. If you decide to take a different path or change your values or change the priorities in life, that it doesn't mean that whatever you have experienced in the past is lost. Is you are just bringing new experiences into a new dimension of your life, and you can also start thriving in there.
And you mentioned growth mindset, and that's a key word that's been obviously using more and more. How would you define that, and what role does it play in what we're talking about today, which is leveling up at work?
Mindset is, in simple terms, the collection of thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves. Okay. And these usually are created since we are youngsters, since we are children, because these are the things that we hear from other people. Ah, you are good at math, you are good at that, and those are the set of values which we grow up. And now the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is that with a fixed mindset, we believe that this is the way we are created, and there is nothing we can do to change it. So there is nothing that you can do to learn something new, or if something has been difficult for you in the past, that, oh, I'm never going to be good at that, so you never try it. While at a growing mindset, you would say, hey, actually, I'm never been very creative or very crafty, but yeah, maybe I can try and develop those skills. And it's the belief that you can learn whatever you want. Doesn't need to, you need to learn everything or things that you are not interested, but if the belief that, okay, I want to learn more about this and I can do it, you see, and I can reach the level of experience and expertise the way I want it. So that is a growing mindset compared with a fixed mindset of, no, I cannot change anything. This is how I am. My parents were like that, so I am like that. My personality has always been like that, so I cannot change. So that is the difference between a fixed mindset and growing mindset,
And
which you will understand why is it important for leveling up at work.
it's a huge difference, of course, because when I hear you speak about this now, it seems like this is the basis of everything, it's the foundation. If you don't even believe that you can achieve something, why would you even try? And if you don't try, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Have like to me, this seems to be like a crucial point in people's development. Obviously, the mindset people have is determined by the environment they grew up in and the experiences they've had. Are people with a fixed mindset able to identify this being a problem? Is that something that they realize? Oh, well, yeah, I'm limited because of my beliefs. Does that happen? First of all, I guess that's the first question.
I have seen a lot on clients that come. It's not that somebody who has a thought, it's not that they are in a box, people with a fixed mindset, it's not that they are in a box. They become aware from time to time
Mhm.
that things can be different. And that is the first step, awareness. And then the second step is to say, like, oh, I want to change it. So it is easier for somebody who for years has had a growing mindset to just take new challenges. Yes.
Mhm.
But is it impossible for somebody who has lived most of their life with a fixed mindset to change? It's not impossible. It's a little bit more difficult, and it needs a little bit more help, because it needs constant companionship to challenge them, so we can work on their limiting beliefs to understand what they believe that, and little by little you can make the changes. And I find that when people who have had a fixed mindset in the past and they make the decision, as soon as they start making small changes and they start seeing the results of these changes, then the confidence fits back, and then they start believing in themselves, and then you start cultivating this growing mindset. It's not a hard stop, you stop here and now you have a growth mindset, but the moment you become aware, you can start taking steps towards cultivating a growing mindset.
Yeah, so to me, there's two things here from what you said that are really important. Is one, it's not your either it's not on and off. It's like it's a spectrum, right?
Mm,
There's people who have a very closed mindset or limited mindset, a fixed mindset, maybe in certain areas of their life, but not in others. And then there's like all sorts of shades of gray until you get people who are like hyper growth mindset. But then in between, that's where most of us are, with
yes.
probably part of the way we think being more like growth mindset and part of the way we think being fixed mindset. And I can imagine, like even me, I would probably benefit from looking at what my limiting beliefs are, despite being quite confident that I have a good part of growth mindset. I can also see that there's probably parts of my life or times in my life, I guess, where I can't, maybe I can't handle challenges or growth or changes.
Mm.
And maybe having an extra bit of growth mindset would actually help me. So I kind of feel like this is something that could help almost anyone to just consider this and explore internally how, like, where we are in different parts of our lives and whether there's something we can help, like, open up a bit or expand if that's something that we need and want, I guess.
I'm glad that you bring this up, Sebastian, because Something else that it needs to be mentioned is it doesn't matter how growth mindset you have. We always have limiting
Hmm.
beliefs in small things, and sometimes we don't realize.
Okay.
And then it needs to be challenged. And then only when you are challenged or you become aware, then you can start taking steps, active steps to make the changes. But I have worked with people who has incredible growing mindset and power, and we're still finding some little things with limiting beliefs, including myself.
Okay, I think we need to book a session. Can you ask me questions to see where would mine maybe, and that could be an example for people who are listening, right? Like, how would you go about figuring out, you know, what my limiting beliefs would be? Just to have an example, so that I also get a sense of what that looks like.
Well, I will start asking you what is the challenge you have at this moment.
Okay.
Where do you feel that you've been struggling and trying many times and not and trying and trying and failing and keep trying and failing, and it's like I don't know why.
Okay, though there's a lot of those.
But that can be a very long conversation, and
Yes.
Sebastian, so
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna pick one thing and then we'll see if where that leads. So I guess what I'm doing with this specific event and podcast is an attempt to basically help more people and unlock Fire Belgium, right? Because for a long time, Fire Belgium was about me teaching how to invest in index funds and the community meetings where people talk a lot about how to invest. And but I've kept most of the control over, like, the knowledge coming a lot from me through the podcast and those meetups, and I want to open that up, right? So I'm currently in the phase where I'm like, I don't want Fire Belgium to be forever about me and index investing only. I want it to serve as many people as possible, and I want to invite new voices into the conversation, because there's a lot of things that I don't know about that people need, like what we're talking about today, right? So I'm in this phase where I want to unlock this Fire Belgium thing, and I find it quite hard, actually. And so this is one attempt, this Belgium Money Week and this podcast, and finding ways to basically optimize the way I reach and create content and valuable content for everyone. But I feel like it's still like the potential impact still stays, and I'm like, how do I get to help, 1 million people? It's like, that's the question, and I can't find the answer right now. I'm struggling with a bunch of things. I'm speaking to a bunch of strategists, but that's kind of the biggest problem I have right now. Is like, I want this to help more people, and I guess a lot of people have that problem or are working on this question. But I don't know if this a good challenge to talk about and maybe find if there are limiting beliefs in there.
we could. I will. The first thing I could ask you is what is a lot of people? What is the number that represents a lot of people?
1 million people.
1 million people. Okay. And why do you think at this moment you are not reaching a lot? What is that number you are reaching now?
I don't know. I would say I have a reach of maybe 10,000 altogether. That would be like 100 times is what I'm trying to get to.
Mhm. And how long has it taken you from 0 to 10,000?
4 years.
And what is it the rush now?
Oh, I just want to go faster. Actually, I will say, I'll tell you the truth. I don't want to be doing Fire Belgium forever. So I want to get to a point where it's big enough that there's enough going on that I feel like I've achieved its potential. And I'd rather get there fast than take 10 years.
Okay, so that is the real why behind it.
Uh-huh. Yes. I don't want to do this forever. That's for sure. But at the
Mhm,
same time, there's so much potential and so much need for it that I
mhm.
just want to go and get that potential unlocked fast.
And is it 1 million people the moment where you will say,
Mm.
yes, that's enough?
I see this as, like, 1 million is basically 10% of Belgium. So as Fire Belgium, I feel like that's kind of the maximum reach that is technically feasible. And I would be quite proud if that was the case already.
But when we're talking about reach, is that they get in contact with Fire Belgium, or is that they become financially independent?
No, it's that they make progress on their journey thanks to some of the work we do. It doesn't have to be directly being in contact, certainly not financially freed. It's just getting better and realizing that there's ways of, taking control of their finances that
Mhm.
improves their lives. And there's, I believe, a lot of people who just don't know that yet.
And why do you think it's a limiting belief for you at this moment?
Actually, it's more like I was trying to figure out what's the biggest challenge I have. And I don't know if that's a limiting belief. I don't know where, like, I don't know if there's a limiting belief in here. Part of it is maybe like I know that I'm not able to get to 1 million on my own. That might be something, which is I think makes sense because it's really big and it's I can get there like having impact without being me doing it all. So I don't know if that helps. If this is the type of conversation that you normally have on this specific topic. So I don't want to put you on the spot. Is there what do you think of this so far?
Can I be honest with
Yeah.
what I'm
Course.
perceiving? Because I know you a little bit. I don't know the whole story. And normally, when I would coach somebody, I will get to understand
Hmm.
the whole thing. But I know that you accomplished things very fast and very quickly in the past. When you worked in corporate, you just mentioned as well, you work very hard, very to save the money and to achieve your financial independence.
Hmm.
And now you kind of have the same goal to be free again. You are
Yes, that's true.
enjoying something, but you want to be free again.
Yes.
So you have that experience from the past, working really hard very quickly and achieving something. And I'm wondering if that is something that is repeating here, that you want to do it also very fast, very quick, to be free, and then to move on to something else.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, I guess. Yes. Yes. Yes, there's a bit of that. There's the pursuit of success, first of all, right? It's just
Mm,
doing it fast and getting big is kind of how we define success enough many times. At the
mhm.
same time, I don't have the same pressure as I used to be because I don't need to do any of this. I don't need the money.
Yeah.
I don't really need to personally, but it gives me the satisfaction. So I'm doing it out of there's ego involved and there's personal satisfaction in having impact. And then there's also some eagerness to kind of want to move to something else already that may be even more impactful, which I've
Hmm.
been putting off on the side for a while. So that's
Yeah.
maybe part of the
Yeah.
and but certainly it is. I can see now that there's a pattern. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Okay.
helpful.
Good. That
All right.
is making sense. Okay.
Yeah, there's a pattern. I'm trying to escape the thing that I got involved into. I think yes, that has happened in the past.
Something to
Okay.
reflect on.
No,
We
yeah,
can
it's good.
we can
I'm
discuss
gonna book
later
a
then.
session.
Okay.
I'm gonna book a session. We can continue. But thank you for this. Okay, let's carry on. We talked about why, and you mentioned, what motivates people to want to climb the ladder or to level up at work, and you talked about money and power. What are the most common reasons that you hear people like? What's the key motivator for them?
As I said, there is a very wide range of values. And we go from power, money, but also people who want to inspire, people who want to lead, people
Mhm.
who want to have flexibility. So it really is. I even make an exercise with my clients. It's like 50 values that they can read and start circling
Mhm.
until they get to the top three. And
Mhm.
once we do that, then you can create your why. So it is really a wide variety of values. But
Mhm.
once you do that, then that becomes your why. And there is no good or bad values. Value is a value. Value is what's important to you. So if that's important to you, then that's going to be the driver that's going to push you to achieve the things you want to achieve.
Actually, it's funny because I did this exercise 4 years ago when I was starting all this with a
Yeah.
coach, entrepreneurship coach, and
Hmm.
mines were family, freedom, and impact in that order. So it's like family first, and then if I get that right, then freedom. And if I get that right, then impact. But it looks like freedom is more important than impact. And right now I'm kind of struggling between impact and freedom, which
Just
might.
apparent going back to the mini session we just had, you want to have the impact with Fire Belgium, but you want to reach the freedom to spend more time with your family.
There's a bit of that, yes, going
It
on.
makes sense. Okay, great.
I mean, this
Good.
is a really good exercise. Certainly, I think anyone who hasn't done it, please do,
Hmm.
because it has helped me clarify many things in my life. And I have those 3 words big written in my living room, and they certainly help me make decisions when it's something that is a conflict between impact, freedom, and family. Family
Yeah,
first, then freedom, then impact. That's it. No
fantastic.
questions asked.
Good.
So yeah, it helps. Okay, and I wanna ask you about the motivation for people to do work. There's also people who go to work because they just want to do something useful that has positive impact. People work in environmental things, on ethical things in NGOs. How does that mix up with the other motivations we talked about?
People will go to work for many reasons, not only to have some put some bread on the table, but many people like to be connected with what they do, and they like to be have a meaningful job. And again, there are so many things that one can do in this world that is really, I see more people craving having that connection with their job and that
Hmm.
meaning. Because when
Hmm.
we graduate from university, let's be honest, we just need to get a job and have some money so we can finally, buy clothes, buy an
Hmm.
apartment, go for dinner, and not depend on anybody else. But the moment we start maturing and becoming more aware of, okay, the impact that our job has in our life, I notice that more and more people are really craving for meaning in
Hmm.
their job. So
And
not everybody wants to go up the corporate ladder.
right, so
People
these
want to
are
just enjoy.
they are two different things potentially. People who are just looking for meaning, it doesn't mean that they want to level up in the career. Do you see them go together or so, or?
Yes, in this sense, what I mean, for example, I have this client who, for the longest time, his goal or his value, sorry, was to be a leader and to be a manager and to inspire people. But then changes happened in his life, and he got a family, and one of his values was also travel and to have the freedom to travel the world. And there was a moment where he got the promotions he wanted, but there was a moment where there was going to be have to be a compromise. If you take a position above where you are now, then forget about taking 3, 4 weeks holiday. Nobody's going to let you do that because you have such a big responsibility. You cannot be aware. It's not that they are taking away your 4 weeks holiday. You just cannot take them all at the time because there are so many people who depend on you. So at this moment, he explored different options to see if he could get the promotion, but none of them were really allowing him to keep the freedom. So we did the exercise again of the values. And then he said, oh, look, I actually would love to keep this freedom of traveling, of having my, I don't know, 40 days of holidays I think he had, which is amazing. So he said, this is such an important thing for me and for my family that I don't want to change it, but I don't want to be, doing the same thing all the time. I want to keep growing, but I don't know how to grow without getting my promotion.
Mhm.
So the way he did it is just developing new skills, learning more, developing his T-shaped skills. So he started getting involved with different projects, and he was a sales manager in a company, and now he also does some business development and works with different, and they ask him for some expertise in solar panels that it's totally new and it's starting like that, and he's thriving because he still gets to keep the important thing for him, which is his holidays, but he is leveling up at work, not because he got a promotion, but because he's learning so much and people know he knows so much, so they invite him to different task
Mhm.
force, to different projects, you see. So
Mhm.
that is the meaning for him, to be connected with his work and still get up every day with the enthusiasm to go to work.
Yeah, that's really nice because often the path forward seems to be there's only one way, right? It's just the way up. And it feels like if you don't go up, then you're failing. But
Mm.
really, if you do the work internally, that's not what everybody needs. And first of all, not everybody can be CEO, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's
no,
just no space
definitely.
for that.
So one is that you grow into other roles in different
Yeah.
positions more horizontally, or I have other clients as well that tell me, look, I just want to be more efficient in what I do
Hmm.
because I want to create a side business, because I want to be a freelancer on the side and explore new things. So everything is fine, as long as you know why you are doing it, then we look for the best way to accomplish what you want to achieve.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. And I think that's a nice way to wrap up the question on why, right? Let's talk about the other part that you mentioned at the very beginning, which is creating value.
Yes.
What do you mean by creating value, and how does that play a role? It seems obvious, but let's define
Hmm.
properly.
Yeah, of course, the first reaction will be, like you are giving it all for your company and you are just performing well and achieving everything. When I say creating value, it's about two sides: creating value for yourself and creating value for the company you are working on. So when you're working for yourself, you are creating value for yourself. The very first thing we need to do is to explore what will be our strengths and our weaknesses. Hopefully we have an open conversation with people who knows us best, colleagues who likes us, and also that they don't like us that well, because they can give us a lot of insights, and just to understand what are we good at and where people think we can improve. Okay. And now there is a lot of literature that says that we should focus on improving all on our weaknesses. While I do agree on that in everything that has to do with communication skills and working with other people, I don't agree that it needs to be our solely focus. I think we also need to leverage our strengths. And once we know what we're good at, we can be even better, and that is going to be our value proposition against other people who work with us. That is how we are going to differentiate ourselves, because we know what we're good at. We are putting extra effort to learn our craft, and then you can deliver even more value for your company. Once you do that, then of course you can start asking for additional responsibilities, getting in touch with others to see where can you collaborate and where you can grow on. And then the opportunities can come. I don't know if probably will be easier with an example that I would
Mhm.
like to share. I had this client who he studied office management, okay, at Hogeschool here in Flanders, which is a university college, which is a bit of a lower level of a university. He was working in this big company where still very much from the 50s is that you can only get this position if you have this type of diploma, and his diploma will never allow him to go into the next position, which for him would be account manager. Okay, so he was the assistant of an account manager, and then there was a sales manager. So my client is the office assistant, and he tells me, I'm after working 1 year in this company, I'm really getting, the hang of this account managing, and I think I could do it. So I encourage him, just go and voice your ambition, because many times, Sebastian, you will believe that we think that people know what we want. People don't know what we want, and we
Mm.
need to voice it. We need to say it. So my client went to the account manager and says, okay, this is what I would like to do. I would like to grow into this position. And he says, fantastic. I want to help you, but I cannot make the decision. You need to talk to the sales manager who eventually is going to approve your promotion. He goes to the sales manager and he says, no, sorry, we are very strict with diplomas. I don't think this is going to be a possibility for you. We had prepared for this situation, and his comeback was, okay, I understand, but would you mind if my account manager starts delegating more responsibilities on me so I can just learn and bring more value, so he can have less, work and find new clients, and I can take all the other responsibilities. Sales manager says, oh yeah, of course. So the office
Mm.
management starts learning more and more for more than a year. He started to take more and more responsibility as an account manager. And then for his next performance review, he got the admin management is retiring. So I would like to take that responsibility. Will that be okay for you? And yeah, at that moment there was no other people applying. So the sales manager says, yes, okay, you can do it. 6 months later, it's going to be an opening in accounting management position, because one of them is also retiring. Guess who is going to get that position? Because the diploma, not because the diploma, but because he proved himself that he's learning, that he's committed and he's motivated. So finally he's going to get it. So nice story. Probably wouldn't have gone like that, but then what happens? He has the skills, he knows how to be an account manager, he learned to be a leader, leading the admin team. He can go anywhere he wants with that experience in a company that doesn't care about the type of diploma you have.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of important lessons here. And it's nice that we have an example because we can talk about what really
Yeah.
happened here. The communication, the fact that you want other people to know that you want to move and
Yes.
progress and that you have the ambition and you have the skills to do it. And you prove it by actually doing the work. So clearly asking for work to be delegated to you is like the cleanest way of doing that, right?
Yeah.
Um, 'cause-
But very being very specific about what you want to learn, because it's not
Mhm.
only about, oh, give me more,
No.
but
Mhm.
if you go and very clearly say to your manager, look, within 2 years, within 3 years, I would like to grow into such and such position. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think I should tackle? And they will give you the ideas. Or when there's some projects passing by, they will think, you should look into that, or you should talk to that person. That might be interesting for you, because they know, they have a little bit more of the overview of what skills you need for you to grow into that position.
Absolutely. And then doing, helping the manager and the boss's boss, and actually letting them see that you can handle things and making life easier for them certainly is
Yes.
also a way of getting their support whenever you go, unless there's like limited positions and you might take their spot, that wouldn't work. But if there are some opportunities, they'll support, right? Especially if you have if you have the support. Basically my journey was a lot like that, in the sense that I did end up speaking basically with all the levels of management to figure out what was the biggest problems, and then trying to find ways to solve those problems. So it wasn't directly saying, hey, I'd like to grow in this position. It was more, what's the biggest issue right now in our department? What can we
Hmm.
do to fix it? How can I help? And just that, I think it seems that just that behavior and the communication of, I'm here to solve the biggest problems that we have, just doing that seemed to have put me on the radar for a bunch of
Okay.
things, right? Because then difficult project, well,
Mm.
Sebastian seems to be up for, dealing with difficult things, because he keeps telling me, how can he help more, right? And so that puts you in the position where then it's harder to do, but then you learn faster as well. You get more responsibilities that maybe you would have had if you were stayed hidden, I guess, because
Yeah.
that was another path, is just, being comfortable, collecting paycheck, which would have worked too, because it was already quite well paid. But certainly, yeah, basically exposing yourself to more and volunteering for difficult work and taking responsibility at the same time without burning out. No, I think there was times where for me it was a bit too much. So certainly there was also some step back. But I guess, yeah, it's finding this balance, right? Where you do you try to find ways to create value. So I like how you speak about creating value is not just creating value for the employer, but it's also finding what's your value. And there again, I resonated a lot when you said it's figuring out what are your strengths and weaknesses, and then building on your strength while fixing the weaknesses. Certainly, that played a role also in my journey, because my strengths were partly what I'm doing now, which is connecting, engaging, bringing people together, moving forward, finding solutions. Not only the technical skills, but that part of people management, communication, and connecting, right? So bringing people and getting them to deliver value like you're doing today. One of the things I was doing a lot was finding the right expert to solve the right
Yeah.
problem, asking what
Yeah.
the problems
Yeah.
were, and then going hunting for the right expert, bring them together, sign the contract. Perfect. A big project.
Exactly.
So doing that was just, I mean, I like doing it. I keep doing it, by the way. So I guess it's there. But yeah, I mean, it resonates a lot. What you're saying there is, I kind of did
Yeah.
it without really realizing, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And when we do that, we start also realizing which one is our genius zone,
Mm-hmm.
where we want to operate. And it's also important to recognize what our drudgery zone is. So maybe I can just quickly share a slide
Yes.
that I have, because I think it's very interesting for the audience to see.
For those of you who are listening to the podcast, we're going to describe this really well.
We're gonna describe the the
It's not a
framework I'm showing
complicated.
here.
It's not a
No,
complicated
indeed.
diagram.
Okay, so we have a quadrant, two axes. So in the x-axis and the right side, we have the being passionate about something and not passionate on the other hand. And then on the y-axis, we have proficient on the top and non-proficient on the bottom. So your desire zone or your genius zone is where your passion and your proficiency meet. Okay, so this is your desire zone, your genius zone, where you don't feel like you are working, because you are just enjoying it so much and you are so good at it that it doesn't feel like work. Okay, then on the other side, in the intersection of proficiency and non-passionate, then we have the disinterest zone. Okay, I'm good at doing this, but I'm not crazy about it, but I can do it fast, I can do it efficient, and I can do it well. Whatever is down for example, the non-proficient and passionate intersection is a distraction zone. So sometimes we are like, oh, I need to. I had a client that it's in finance, and he's a finance consultant, a freelancer, and he was telling me, I need to create my website, and I'm learning how to make a website. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, so you don't have the skill to learn to make a website. No, 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 but I think I can do it. Okay, I admire your grow mindset, but do you really need to make it yourself, because you know it's gonna take you a long time? So then he realized, oh yeah, maybe I should be focusing in building the business in other way where my value is it's more important, and just outsource this to somebody who is an expert, whose genius on is creating a website. You see, you can also think of this if you are looking for something that can in the future be moved to the desired zone. An example, I give trainings in English and in Dutch, but I would love to learn French and in the future to give a training in French. Is it possible for me to give it in French right now? Not at all. I will have to memorize it like crazy, and I will spend a lot of hours. But if it becomes an interest zone in the future, then I can move it up here. You see, I can spend the time building that new skill. Whatever we need to try as much as possible to eliminate is our drudgery zone, is the combination of non-passionate and non-proficient work. So we are not good at it, we hate it, and it's just taking away energy from us. Now, for me, this is bookkeeping. Okay, I know how to do the accounting. I have the knowledge. I learned at university. I hate it with passion. Okay, and it's funny because I had this conversation with my accountant a couple of months ago, and I was telling her, I'm so grateful you do this because I hate it. And you know what she said? Really? I love it. I love making sense of the chaos into nice numbers. I just love it. But what you do, coaching people, giving trainings, being in the spotlight, I don't want to do that at all. So it is very important to know that whatever is in our treasury zone doesn't necessarily is in the treasury zone of somebody else, can be in the genius zone. So for us to identify what takes away our energy, it's important to see if we can eliminate it, we can delegate it, we can outsource it, we can even switch it somebody else, so we can spend most of our time working in our desires.
And so, what do we do with everything that's in the graduate zone and we don't want to do it, but we have to?
Yes, so I will say, okay, try as much as possible to be into your desire zone. The interest zone is still fine. Distraction zone is still fine. The one that really takes away our life is the drudgery zone, because we hate it and we are not passionate. So there are three things that you need to ask yourself. Can I eliminate it? If not, can I delegate it? Not, can I outsource it? Worst case scenario, if you cannot do any of these three, then look for somebody who is willing to switch activities. Maybe somebody's drudgery zone is in your disinterest zone. Can we switch? I'll do that and you do that. The worst that can happen is that it's in the disinterest zone of somebody, and okay, they are not crazy about it, but they don't mind. You see, those are the things that you can, the switches that you can do in professional life and in personal life.
That seems like a really important exercise to do as well. So we talked about the exercise of identifying your, most important values, and here another exercise is listing everything that you were supposed to do and you're doing on a regular or even non-regular basis, and then putting them in these quadrants, right?
Mhm.
Upright, zone of genius, proficient, and passionate. And then we have the two gray zones, and then one red zone, the drudgery zone, where
Yeah.
we're not passionate and not proficient. We want to eliminate that. I think this is a great framework. Certainly something that we should do. Look, we're coming up with a bunch of exercises that we should do. I wish we had
Yeah.
more time.
Yeah, well, actually, I was thinking about that. And what I did is that I created a personal development toolkit for everybody in the audience. That, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna pop in the chat, so everybody can get to do these exercises at home. And there are three exercises that you can do on your own, just to get clarity in what you want to do, what are your goals, what are the biggest obstacles, and to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, to recognize your genius zone, your tragedy zone, and then I give you a bunch of tools and links to articles, podcasts for in specific categories. So if you recognize, oh, I need to improve my communication skills, okay, here are some resources that you can use to improve yourself.
Amazing. Okay, so this is something they can get on this link that you shared here. We'll put it in the show notes as well for
Yes.
YouTube and podcasts so that people can get this resource. If we had time, we would do it here as a live exercise. But as you told me, it's there's a lot to do, and it probably
Yeah.
takes time for people to think through
It
all
takes a
this.
long, it takes a lot of time.
If
Yes.
if there's enough interest in this topic, we could organize a workshop where we bring you again and we do this work live with whoever wants to join and actually do the work together. That could be something that we can consider as well for the
Mhm.
future. Awesome. Thanks for sharing this. What else do we have in like creating value? Are we did we cover most of the points that you wanted to talk about?
Yes, yes. I think the next point will be working on your executive presence.
Okay. So what
Okay.
do you mean by that? Executive
Exec-
presence.
yeah, it started with the je ne sais quoi. What does this manager have? That X factor that you cannot really pinpoint what it is. Finally, researchers came up with a terminology, and it's executive presence. And executive presence is basically how confident people are in you in delivering your work. So your colleagues in delivering your work, and they trust that you can do a good job, and the confidence your managers have in you that you can grow and tackle bigger challenges. So that is executive presence, or how people perceive you. And there are three things that are part of executive presence, and that is gravitas, communication, and the last one is appearance and body language. So gravitas takes 67%. Communication is about 23%, and 5% for what is body language and appearance. I don't know
And
if
so
you
I
want.
understand communication and body language quite okay ish. How do you define gravitas? What does that mean?
Just in simple terms is really how good you are at your job. That people consider your contributions as important, that they trust you, that they know that when you say I'm going to do something, then you do it. So this is what people see as gravitas.
Okay, so that's
Now,
reassuring because it sounds like, when we think about all this, executive presence seems like something that you could kind of gimmick. But
mm,
then you talk about communication, well, you could communicate in a certain way that maybe is a bit empty. You could dress up in a way that maybe is more than what you actually are. But the gravitas is not something you can fake.
no,
This is
that's
actual
the
real
that's the
value
core. Yeah, that's the
deliverable,
core,
right?
and and that's why it's 67%. But
Yeah.
the tricky part here, Sebastian, is communication and body language and appearance actually have a lot of influence when you want to level up at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. I work also with these 360 degrees feedback,
Mhm.
for an employee, that they get feedback from managers, peers, and subordinates. And sometimes I am also asked to come to the company, and I have one little interview with representative from these different groups just to understand better. And I was working with this client, and she told me, I don't understand it. I always perform. I'm always doing what I need to do. I perform better than expected, but twice they overlooked me for promotion. And it was nothing that it's a man or a woman. The promoted people above her were also other women. So she couldn't understand why. And when I had a conversation with the manager, he told me, yeah, she's amazing. She is an expert in this topic, but we don't see her as a leader because she stays in her cave and she works on her things, but she doesn't inspire others. She doesn't have the leadership skills to lead others. Now, for the leader of that team, what do I need? An expert that is going to sit in their cave and just do their job, or somebody who is probably not an expert in that, but it makes sure that people who are feeling everything, all the works they need to be done, and then they orchestrate the whole thing, and that they are able to inspire and communicate clearly what they want, and they are able to listen. So just missing that part of communication skills can have a big impact for anybody.
What comes to my mind here as well is not everyone that performs well at a certain level would perform great at the next level, because
Yes.
the skill set that's required is different, right? So
Yes.
when we talk about leveling up, someone going from an operation role to a managerial role, that can be a big change. And it's not because we're good operationally that we're good from the management
Mm.
perspective. So now we're digressing a bit from executive presence, but how does that play a role in thinking about all of this?
Well, this particular client was in R&D, and if she had told me, I love my job, I don't need to change, then we take the feedback, try to make, the most important improvements. It's fine. But she told me, I want to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And people answered that questionnaire with that in mind. So the feedback was, you need to work on your leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tell me, I don't want to change, I'm happy here, then by all means continue. But if you tell me, no, I want to be a leader, and the feedback is, you are not good at communicating, you are not good at leading other people, you are not good at inspire, then we need to work. And then we need to see why and what are the limiting beliefs, and what prevents you from doing that. And little by little, we start building those skills. So that's what it comes with executive presence. Gravitas is fine. But if you want to grow and lead others, especially lead others, and that's why it's called executive presence, then you need to build your communication skills very importantly.
Okay, yeah, that makes complete sense, because if you're in the leadership position, communication is, it's essential, because that's the whole job.
Yeah.
And gravitas and obviously quality of work is important as well. Are there other ways to level up at work without it being necessarily going into management, and so in those leadership positions,
Mhm.
the way we usually see them?
Yeah. I think the best way is what I explained before with my client, just to look more horizontally, that you're not looking to get into the next position or the next promotion. You are fine where you are, but you just want to learn new things or try different things, or eventually make a career switch. So if you are an expert and you
Mhm.
have deep knowledge, and you start exploring different types of knowledge, doesn't mean that you need to become an expert in each of them. You just go explore until you find something that you think, hey, this might be interesting. I want to learn a little bit more. And then you can start developing more knowledge into that. And eventually you are going to start making all the clicks and the connections and say, hey, I can use this knowledge with this new knowledge and I can create this. Or maybe I can partner up with this team, or I can come with a proposal
Mhm.
for this team. You see?
I guess it depends on the industry, but where I used to work, there were several career tracks, and one of them was going into people management,
Mm.
right? That was clearly for office management, regional management, some kind of like steps towards some kind of executive position. And then there was the expert track, right?
Mm.
Where people would start as juniors and then gradually get better at what they do until becomes, principals, senior principals, vice president, principal, whatever. They have all sorts
Yeah,
of
yeah,
names.
yeah.
And these would be non-people management positions, and typically like technical expertise, 90% of it. Still some communication and I think executive presence required, and maybe it comes more naturally with sort of, but it was mostly real technical expertise that was the key to leveling
Mm.
up in those cases. Do you see that being the case in other industries? Because obviously that was in consulting,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that kind of double path structure exists in other businesses.
very few that I have seen. And many there are more, you can expand more. And if you really find yourself in this structure that has just two tracks and there is no
No,
escape,
you can, you
uh,
can, you can swap,
you can.
but
Okay.
I would say that the beauty of it is that you don't have to become a people manager to level up,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can
You can just
recognize
keep growing in that
from
cell. Yeah.
expertise,
Okay.
and that could be multiple expertise with T-shaped
Yeah.
knowledge, but
Yeah.
technical without people management skills specifically, without
Yeah.
having to deal with HR and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
sorts of
yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
which most
And
people
and
don't
and
want to
you
deal.
don't have to, when I say learning new skills, acquiring new skills is not about becoming a manager. It's just about anything that
Yeah.
interests you actually, and just making the connections.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So let's come back to executive presence. because that's one that we understand. We understand that the way to leveling up on the expert side is to just develop expertise and communicate that expertise. I guess there's still an important part there. But then for those, I guess no, executive presence works on both sides actually. Sorry,
Yeah,
I take it back, because if you grow as an expert, and so in seniority and in leadership in terms of expertise, you still need leadership. It's not people leadership, it's technical leadership. It still requires, I guess I can see now, gravitas, communication, body language, and image, I guess.
yeah.
Certainly all of that is important as well. So it remains the same. Okay, so then let's go back into practically, how do we take steps in that direction? How do we improve it?
Okay. Well, if one of your goals is, okay, I want to get promoted, I want to keep growing in the organization, one of the mistakes that I've seen a lot of people make is to tell me, I'm going to let my job speak for itself.
Mhm.
I know I'm good at it. I always perform well. I'm just going to let my work speak for itself. And that's not the way to do it, because again, people are not mind readers. They don't know what you want. So you need to clearly communicate what to do. So again, I will communicate. I would like to grow. But it's not that I want to grow and please give me the promotion tomorrow. Is I want to grow into this position within 1-2 years. What do you think I need to grow into this position? So the people who work with you, peers, managers, M+2s, they can give you their point of view and tell you what skills will be needed for that specific position, for that specific industry.
So we're using communication to figure out how to build more gravitas, essentially the right
Yes,
skill set.
yes, yes.
So
Asking
that,
for feedback, it's big. A lot of people don't ask for feedback. And it is so important, because this really helps us grow, because there are many things that are in our blind side. And in the exercise that you are going to see in the personal development tool, one of the exercises is to discover your blind spots. That's something we cannot see. Only other people can see it, and it's only them who can tell us.
yeah, because I can't, I hear you say, obviously most people come and say, I'm good at my job. I don't know why I'm
Mm,
not going up.
mm,
And if they haven't had feedback, then there's probably places in their job where they could be better. And that was
yeah,
certainly the case for me, and basically everyone around me saying that they're good at their job. I'd
yeah,
be like, are you sure? And
yeah.
then when I say I'm good at my job, it's like, Sebastian, are you sure? And I think so, saying I'm good at my job, I think already leads to someone having confidence. That's a good thing, but maybe also a belief around, well, maybe not enough feedback, right?
Mhm.
Like, how else can you improve should be the main, I guess, the growth mindset, the position to be in, rather than saying, I already know. So I would say that's probably one aspect already, is to improve gravitas. You need to accept that you might not be already at the level you need to. And so to improve gravitas, then you communicate on your ambition to grow and improve, and asking feedback, asking, people higher up what it takes to get there, and what
Mhm.
what job you could do, what experience you could get, and so basically what work you could do to help them, and also learn what it takes to get to the next level. I guess all of
Yes.
this ties up quite nicely together. Um,
Indeed, and also to become an assertive communicator, because many times there are different styles of communication. Some people are passive communicator, passive aggressive, or aggressive communicators. So the idea is to get to an assertive communication level where you can express your wants and needs while you respect the wants and needs of other people.
can you
So
give
many
us an
times.
example of this?
Yes, let's see. Can I ask you to do a role play
Yes.
with me? I'm gonna play the three different communication styles. Okay, so you are my colleague. You just come to me. It's Friday evening, and you tell me that you have tickets for a concert, and if I can take over your job for today. Okay, just very very short.
Yes. Hi, Judith. Look, I'm a bit of in the pickle. I've got these concerts. It's starting in an hour, and I haven't finished this bit of work here. Would you mind doing it for me?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem, Sebastian. I'll do it. Have fun.
Thanks. You're amazing. Oh,
So
geez. Oh, this is so sad. I'm sorry. I just did that to you.
yeah, so you see that is a passive
Uh,
communication style. Let me go with passive aggressive. Can you go again? Oh no,
and
well, I shouldn't have said, but okay. We're gonna see how is a passive aggressive. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you told us already. Haji did have this really important thing tonight, and I didn't manage to finish this piece of work. Would you mind doing it for me?
Sure, it's not like I have any plans. Yeah, just go. I'll just stay here and finish your work. Fun.
Yeah. Okay.
So you see, that's a passive aggressive
Uh-huh.
communicator. Okay, let's do it one more time.
Hi, Judith. Have an important date tonight, and I didn't manage to complete the report. Would you mind helping me complete it? Could you do it for me? I have to go now.
Sebastian, who the hell do you think you are? Do you think I'm your slave that I'm here to do your work? You are so lazy and
Oh my
putting
God.
things on the very last minute. Why do you think I will have to take over your job?
Yeah, I mean,
You see?
I don't, I would never feel comfortable ever asking this to
You
anyone.
see? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I
So
can't.
those are the three types of communication. And what you want to do is to reach an assertive level of communication where you can easily express something like this. Hi, Sebastian. Actually, the last 3 weeks, you have asked me to take over your job, and I've been happy to do it because I want to be a team player and I wanted to help you. But or I'm starting to feel that I'm being taken advantage of. I'm sure that that's not your intention, but that is how it's coming across to me. So I would appreciate that you don't come to me with something like that unless it's really, really an emergency, because I would like to feel that this is a two-way street. Will that
Mhm.
work for you?
I understand. Okay. Oh my
You
God, I would
see?
hate to be a manager like this.
So
But
you
yeah,
see,
I see the differences. They're very clear. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why conversations in a work environment with politics and everything can get very complicated and very emotional. So being an assertive communicator definitely set us apart from other people. You see, because we can people can trust that we are going to say what we are thinking without hurting them, without making them feel bad, or that we are going to just say yes and roll our eyes and start bickering behind their backs, you know. So assertive communication is something we should all aspire.
And so,
Now, one of the things that I said is it's not the purpose to say, if you take a line and you say this is 0 and this is 10, it's not the purpose to say I need to be a 10. Okay, it is the purpose to realize, okay, where am I right now? Am I a 5? Great. What's my next step? Is going to be a 6? Maybe let's do a 5.5. And once you become a 5.5, then the next step is to become a 6, and then you work towards that. It's not that from 5 you're going to change suddenly and become a 6. You need to get your confidence little by little, but that's why you keep trying, you keep exploring, and in different situations you try to improve the way you communicate.
and so this comes with practice. It comes with
Oh, a lot of failure as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, little by little, sometimes at the beginning, also in the past, I didn't know how to give this feedback. If this would have happened to
Mhm.
me, I would have been the passive of the passive people. I would have said that I was a number one when I started my professional career. Now I think I'm somewhere in an 7, 8, but it has taken a lot of practice and it becomes more automatic. So when a situation like this comes, then I kind of have my formula to say, okay, this is what I want to say, and to make it clearly without giving the whole story or starting to cry or whatever emotion is coming to me, that it can be directed, very simple and an effective way.
That seems to be extremely important as well. We talked about communication being important, and it looks like, yeah, there's no way you would help someone go up if they're not able to communicate in a human way that is kind of clear and assertive. I guess that's the key word here. Yeah. Okay, so what else do we have? We talked about executive presence, which includes gravitas, communication, body language. What in body language can influence all this?
Definitely, I did a lot of research about body language because I had to give a training on body language for a company. And one of the things that is really highlighting all the books that I read and the research I read is posture. Because they said the moment you enter a room, your posture already makes people have an perception about you. So if you enter the room with the shoulders down and like looking down, then already gives a perception that you are less confident that you are. But if you just straighten your shoulders and raise your head, then that already gives you now you're straightening up, that gives you already the confidence on your own that yeah, I feel good, and then you can portray that with your words and with your communication skills, and accompanied by all the experience you have.
Is this a question of habit? Is this a question of mindset? Like what makes someone change the way they hold themselves?
Many times it's just habit, the way we are sitting down, hunched down, and we just don't go back. So our muscles start kind of cramping around the spine, and it needs to be conscious that the older we become is the more most difficult is to keep our posture unless we are building a lot of body mass that is really strengthens our core and our back muscles. And in one of the trainings I followed as well in body language, it said just a quick tip: every time you cross a door frame, remind yourself to fix your posture, because it just can bring a lot of impact in how people see you, just by
It's
how you have good posture, how you look in the eyes, how you give a hand, like straight, not like a flimsy handshake, but like firm, not also strangling the other person, but a firm. Those 5 seconds good morning, and you raise that, already makes a difference in how people are going to perceive you.
yeah, and it feels like so posture and body language, they're they're certainly part of it, but you would call it also friendliness and charisma and just I guess the way you yeah, the confidence you have in yourself and the
Mm,
way you communicate. It's a combination. It's difficult. Like if I was feeling not confident, then I would
yeah,
probably look not confident. But the
yeah.
moment I feel confident, then I do behave confidently. And I guess that communicates that the confidence, which means, gravitas in this case. And
Totally true. If
so
you
it's
if we feel well, we automatically just take more space. The moment we start feeling bad, we want to make ourselves smaller, and that is unconscious. So that is very unconscious, but if we know, and if we are feeling bad and we had a bad morning, but we still have this very big meeting with clients or whatever, then you think about it and you just, try to fix it, to enter that meeting.
yeah, because in fact, it actually works in both ways. This is what I understand as well from stuff I've read, I guess, or things I've watched or listened to. My understanding is our mind and our emotions are impacted by the way we stand or we behave and we move. So we can do things with our bodies that help improve our minds
Yeah.
and our mindset. And then there's also the way we feel also impacts the way we look because as you just
Yes.
said, no, emotionally, if we're like this, we're going through something. But we can also react by actually posturing or make putting our body in a position of confidence, and that brings us back into a place where we think in a confident way, which basically kind of can be a virtuous circle if it goes well, a
Yes.
self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing. So it's kind of it works both ways, it seems, which is a good thing because it feels like I wouldn't want I wouldn't want to believe that the way to level up at work is to communicate and look like you're successful
Mhm.
because it would be like, oh, that seems a bit fake. But certainly like the core, which it reassures me when you told me that 67% was gravitas. To me, that's okay.
Mhm.
So you need serious value delivery expertise and people trusting you because you deliver, right? And that's like a big part of all this, and that gives you confidence, right? That in turns basically makes you confident, which in turns makes you able to then display confidence, not because
Yeah.
you're it will help you, but because it is how you really feel. And so that seems to be the correct snowball. But I would say there's also, and my understanding is there's also a way of just like hacking your own mind by putting yourself in this position of confidence and basically changing your mood in a place that's actually helpful, because being depressed or stressed or unconfident isn't helpful to actually deliver something that would in the end provide gravitas. So it seems like it's really both sides are
Yeah.
working on those things together. So I want to reassure everyone here, we're not talking about how to fake it till you make it,
It's not about being a
putting in the
peacock.
work and
It's
understanding what works.
just doing small things, because the concept of executive presence, there have been a lot of research on that. So they're just looking for people, what do they make, why do we see some people, they should be our leaders, or not only the leaders, but they are good at what they do, and they move horizontally, and they learn new things, and they seem to be working and always in big demand because everybody wants to work with them. It is because of the combination of these three things. They are good at what they do, they are good at communicating what they want, and listening to others, and they also just display this confidence. And sometimes we want to see confidence in somebody else because we want to believe, okay, everything is going to be fine, you see, and that somebody has that confidence. And this executive presence is not only for corporate world, but it's also for freelancers, entrepreneurs, for anybody. We should all develop these skills.
Because it's useful in every aspect of life, right?
Yes.
And not just work, but in relationships, family,
Yeah.
and hobbies, and everything that you want to
Yes.
do well in life, right? Which is most things, I guess.
Hmm.
Parenting, I guess, plays a role here. Well, it's probably practical. It can also be applied there. Awesome. This is really really helpful. We talked about T-shaped skills, and
Hmm.
I think you mentioned networking at some point, or maybe that was in our prep. T-shaped skills we've touched upon.
Yeah.
What about the network and
Hmm.
knowing the right people? How does that? What role does this play?
If you allow me, Sebastian, just before we cross to
Mm-hmm.
network, I want to say one more thing about T-shaped skills, because what is important when we are talking about level out of work is not really just going up. It's not about having a management position, but just acquiring different skills that make you feel that
Mm-hmm.
you have meaning in your life, and that you are happy about, and that it
Mm-hmm.
fulfills you, and that it creates the space for everything, anything you want to create. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to go for management and really lead a bunch of people, fantastic. If you want to grow in a different direction and have more time with your family, or have time to create a new business or a new idea, fantastic as well. That is leveling up at work. It's
Mm-hmm.
just growing your career the way you want to grow it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
only horizontal, it's not also vertical, it's not also not horizontal. It can take different shapes,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you feel that every day you are getting up and you are not like, oh my God, I have to go to work. You see, it's just having the feeling of, I'm happy with what I'm doing, I'm bringing value, I'm getting value. So that's the only thing I want to
Yeah, I
say.
think it's super important because we talked a lot about leveling upward, but really the whole idea is to basically create a work experience that is aligned with your values, which we discussed about earlier,
Yeah,
right? Which again emphasizes the need for identifying those values and then figuring out what we really want out of work and then finding ways to get there. And it doesn't
yeah,
have to be the usual upward trajectory.
no,
It can be
indeed.
anything else.
Can be anything else, because the moment you are happy with how your life has been designed, then you have more time for things like fire, and then think of, oh, now I'm gonna invest and I'm gonna create my life, shaping your career just as much as you would shape the life you want. So
Yes,
that is what I believe is leveling up
I
at
love
work.
it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very important clarification. Mhm.
Good. And about networking,
Yes.
yes, it is important to be visible. But when I say networking, also again, I'm not talking about we need to go to these big events and talk to people, although we met in a networking event, I believe, which is fantastic. But I mean, in the coffee corner, there is this. I'm not from Belgium, I'm from Bolivia. I live in Belgium already 17 years, and something I have not is this concept. They say Flemish people are terughouden, which means that they are very close, that they like to keep in their circle. And I have seen this in all companies I have worked when I was studying, stays in the circle that you work with, your closest colleagues, and there is a company event, but then you see the circles of the people who know each other. So, it's so important just to start making new connections with anybody, somebody you meet in the coffee corner, not only good morning and then you go, but ask them, also, what are you drinking and where do you work and what are you busy with? Just small conversations to get you in touch with others, because eventually you will get to share what you do. And whenever that person is working on that big project, they might think, this Sebastian, he is also busy with this. And that is a way of getting access to new opportunities, and just to be exposed to new knowledge, new interesting people, and maybe new opportunities for your career as well.
I absolutely agree. I've experienced this myself too.
Mhm.
Yes, and it does work without actually thinking about it. It happens, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's one thing, one way to do it within your organization. And if you go to events, of course, even better, because you get to know people from other industries, and so. But something that a lot of people overlooked is the power of LinkedIn. Okay. I know that The majority of people in Belgium have access to LinkedIn, or they have a LinkedIn profile. And it doesn't mean that you need to be active posting every single day and that you need to be, the influencer in LinkedIn. It's just about actually making your profile easily found by recruiters, because I was shocked at looking at some statistics that they say, let me look for it. There are 40 million available jobs in LinkedIn, and 87% of recruiters usually regularly use LinkedIn to find, instead of just, going through agencies. Sometimes they just approach candidates because they found them in LinkedIn. So it is about having three important things in your LinkedIn: a good profile picture, of course, because you won't believe the amount of people who don't have a profile picture in their LinkedIn. Then having keyword headline, so not only, sales manager, account manager, but really what you do, and you have space so you can put some keywords. And that we should all have at least two job positions, the last ones, but not only the title, because again, a lot of people just put the title, but you need to say what you do, what you have done, especially the accomplishments that you have achieved in that position. And lastly, the skills. A lot of people don't use the skills section. You have to use the skill section, because when companies are looking for something, or people are just looking to connect with the right people and they do a search, LinkedIn prioritizes the keywords, and many of the keywords are skills. And so if you do that, you already become more searchable. So if you are looking into not only leveling up, but maybe into a different company, into a different industry, then add those skills as keywords, and then you will become more searchable as well. And then you can start networking and maybe having more opportunities.
So it needs to be as rich as a CV, basically, right? Usually the CV is something that people work on quite a bit. And I think the same level of details can be applied to a LinkedIn profile.
A little bit, but there is a small difference here, that in a CV, it's a little bit more third person that you write, more professional, and
Mhm.
LinkedIn is more personal.
Yes. Okay.
People want to connect with you personally because they already, they are looking into your profile. It's a little bit more personal. They want to know who you are, what you have done. So I would write things more, and I probably need to go back to my LinkedIn page and check if I'm doing this, talk in the first person and talk more about the achievements that you have done. But indeed, the skills, the moment I did this last year, I think I put a lot of skills, and then suddenly I started to get emails. Hey, I found you through this, and I will be interested in this, and this my company is looking for a trainer. Can you send us a proposal? I just started to get more contacts from people, and this is not only true for freelancers, but it's true for also people who work in corporate, and they might get approached by agencies or the recruiters themselves to fill up a position.
That's how I find sometimes freelancers, but also speakers
Yeah,
for my events.
yeah, you see. So it
So
is
certainly.
important to have a good profile. You
Yes.
don't want to be in the shadows.
Awesome. Judy, this has been super insightful. Lots of very practical tips, really good frameworks as well. I think it gives people a lot to think about. I think we're going to wrap up here and we're going to take a few questions. But before that, where can people find you and how can people contact you if they want to work with you or learn more about what you do?
I'm gonna paste the links here in the chat.
Yes. So we put the links in the chat, and we'll put them also on the show notes
Yeah.
and the video description.
So I'm adding the professional development toolkit again for you
Mhm.
to download. It's free. There are three ways to work with me. Number one, the fastest is you have a challenge, you have a specific problem. So we sit together for 2 hours, and I will help you to, disentangle the problem and make an action plan to tackle the issue. Second is in a coaching journey. So I do this either individually or in groups, and we meet for 3 months every week, and we tackle all the leadership skills that you want to learn, that you want to improve. In a group, I work only with small groups, 3 to 4 people maximum, and I do this only twice a year. It's the same concept, but in a group setting. Or the last one, if you are interested in leadership training for your company, we jump into a call. You tell me what are the needs of your company, and I can create a customized training for your.
Awesome. Yes, you do have multiple activities there. Awesome. So people have the links here and they're going to be also in the show notes. Thank you very much, Judith. This was really, really useful and insightful. And I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for the coaching and thank you for the role playing. It was very interesting for me too. We are going to open the floor to questions. Judith is here another 20 minutes or so. If you have any questions, now is the time. Any questions, any challenge that you may have? Maybe you are finding yourself in a difficult situation, and how's the time to get someone's opinion on it? So there's a question here. I'm not going to say who's asking, but how can I get the corporate environment that allow me to do freelancing as a side activity while I am holding a senior position at?
I think the first thing you need to decide will be, do I want to do freelancing on top of my job, or I want to go for what is legally allowed to do 80% full-time work and then 20% what is called in Belgium bijberoep, so on the side. So if you think that, no, I'm going to work still full-time, 100%, and on top of that, then I'm going to start my freelance business, I will look into being more efficient and more productive with my work and talking to management to help you, reduce the things in the drudgery zone, maybe switching with somebody else. But if you want to go with the 80-20 formula, then you need to have the discussion with your management and say, okay, I only want to work 80% and I need to change my contract. They don't need to give you permission to become a freelancer. That's a decision you take on yourself, on your own, but they do need to allow you to change your contract from 100 to 80%. I don't know if that answers your question.
That can be challenging in a senior position, right?
Indeed. So it is for you to decide, okay, what am I going to do as a freelance? Can I manage it with the rest of my activities, which I don't know, and that's why I'm just making this assumption. But if you have too much, then what is most logical? Is it an 100 plus, or is it an 80-20?
Awesome. Other questions?
Yeah, so I have a question about the executive presence. So you stated the 3 different components like gravitas, communication, and body language. So I just realized that I had some feedback about being a bit invisible in a way. So I'm doing like the right way, I'm doing the job, I'm performing, but I think I'm missing a bit on the communication part. So I am aware of it already. And I've been working on it, but still I feel like, I don't know if it requires some coaching, but I feel that on my own it's getting hard. At least to improve the communication skill in order to have more like a leadership role. So do you have maybe, I don't know, what would be the next step? And does it require to be coached, or can it be done at some point alone?
Okay. I mean, that is really up to you, Holly. If you were my client or not, just now in this call, I will tell you, Holly, go back on what day is today, Tuesday. Go back tomorrow to your office and ask the people specifically, can you elaborate more on what do you mean with invisible? Because what I assume as being invisible might be something different you assume as being invisible. Somebody different can assume an invisible can be somebody who doesn't express their opinion or who agrees with somebody else. There are different definitions, so you really need to understand what is behind this word. And once you understand better the feedback, then you start thinking, okay, they tell me, for example, I don't participate in meetings, so my first goal would be, okay, the next time there is a meeting, my challenge is going to be to participate at least once in the meeting, and then you keep trying. If you see that really there is something preventing you, that no, there is this fear, there is this belief that doesn't allow me, then you can have a coaching session to talk about that. But if you feel that, okay, my goal is I'm gonna next session, if this is invisible to me, just to participate more in the meeting, I talk once, great. Once I'm comfortable at that level, next time I'm gonna go for 2 times. And next time I can really just say, no, I don't agree with that. So just work step by step. But in order to know what's your action plan, you need to really understand what people mean with being invisible.
Can I just go on with that?
Of course.
Yeah, I think some part of my job require some leadership roles in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting also. I think there was a question in the chat, like, do we need still like to go to a management or leadership role? But in fact, it depends the whys, as you said earlier. So for me, I don't want specifically to be like a manager. And for me, like being in a leadership role, I think everyone on its own level can have a kind of leadership role just by being proactive and, trying to get better at what we do. So I think, maybe I need to define more the why also behind it. But I understand what you say also, like maybe get more feedback. But for me, I don't want to get like manager role, but still I need at some point in the task that I'm doing to get more visible in a way as a leader, I guess.
Yeah, and that's thank you so much for bringing that up, because being a leader, it doesn't mean to be a manager. That's totally different things, and we can be leaders at any position. I also don't have any ambition to become a manager and manage teams. But being a leader is just, being able to inspire people, to communicate your ideas, to communicate your vision to others, and that you don't need to be a manager for that. So you can develop leadership at any stage in your career.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. Thank you, Judith. We have a question in the chat. How to use body language when all your work is online?
Aha, good question. Yes, some tips. It's because this is when I need to stand up. When we are in person, sorry, I'm very, I'm very graphic with my explanations. When we are in person, this is our influence area. So our hands and everything that happens here, this is what it has impact. When we are sitting, that changes, because if I'm moving my hands here, you might see a little bit of my shoulders moving, but nothing else. So I really need to make the effort to bring my hands here, which if I would be standing will be crazy, because I will be talking like this all the time, So when you are online, again, make sure that your camera is at a good level, that is not too high or not too low, or especially if you have the meeting here and your camera here, that you are not like this the whole meeting. You need to try to make that connection with the other people as much as possible, have the eye level, and to use your hands just to express things, number 1, number 2, number 3, A, B, C, so people can see that you are also, trying to express something. And of course, posture, that's something is very visible. If we are just, hunching back, then you can also communicate body language virtually, a little bit more limited, but just play in the frame that you have.
Awesome. Thank you. So Melissa's question, is it true and advisable that changing company every 3 years will let your income grow much faster?
Harder, faster?
So changing company, is that a good advice to grow your income every few years?
I think I have seen two sides of the coins. I have seen people starting more like in startup type of companies, and after a few years, and these few years is like 4 years or 5 years, they move to bigger companies and bigger roles, and then they make more money. But I have also seen people who started in these big corporations that also have these complex structures for promotion, and that they find themselves a little bit in a golden cage, because whatever is out there is not as high paid as what they have right now. So it is difficult to say for me, and I will be just making up an answer if I would say something. It's difficult to say for me because I have seen the two sides of the coin. So for that specific answer, I would say I'm not sure.
And not necessarily, it seems, right?
No,
There's
probably a
situations where,
recruiter will have more insights on this, but from the experience I have from my clients, I have seen both, so I cannot really say this works better than the other.
thank you. Another question, is it not too difficult to change an established belief others have of you? If a company does not see you as a leader, why should you stay there and not move to a company that sees your potential as a leader?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, if we should all take the feedback and they say, okay, we don't see you as a leader, and you are making the effort. You're really taking into account the feedback. You are keep asking for feedback. You go to trainings. You try to improve yourself. You try to learn. You try to implement. And if they still have that belief about you, which is in many occasions are cognitive biases that we cannot fight on, then why would you stay there? Just take, as I always say, just you are the Ferrari. Just take your Ferrari and take it to a new environment where you can run better instead of having to ride in a rocky mountain.
In fact, this leads me to something else that's really important, I think, and probably valuable advice. Most of us have abilities to thrive even if we're in the right environment, right?
Mm.
And basically, a big part of finding the right job is getting to the right company where we're in the right place to actually deliver the best value we have and then grow. And then some environments are just more suitable to some people than others. And there's some environments that are just bad for everyone. Right? And then some environments that are quite good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think a big part of leveling up at work is also finding the right place to be. And something that has played a big role in my experience, which is limited because it's just mine. I don't have the experience of other people to talk about like you did, but is basically finding the right manager and the right team at the time where it was the right move for me, right? And certainly the relationship with management, whether it's like 1, 2, or 3, even 3 levels above, was crucial, right, to making it work. And the place where I was performing well, but I was completely unhappy, was a place where the management, top management, was just really like performance-wise, yes, but value-wise, so bad, right? And we just could not align. And I felt horrible having to go work there, despite the work being good. It was just there was something in the way things were managed that was wrong, and it wouldn't fit with me, and I just couldn't, right? And I can see myself. I can see this little thing in my head. I was in this cage, and I was trying to get out. And I had this energy to I want to just get out of here. I was like, I need to free up. This like this whole freedom thing is always there in my head. And I had to free myself up from these chains of like being in the wrong place. And I was just hunting for work nonstop. I was like, until I find a good place, I can't stop, right? And I found it. And it's been a huge change in like my life satisfaction, despite the work being at least as hard, if not way harder. It was just the right environment, the right support, understanding, communication. You know, when I was overworked or having the really toughest time of my life at work, I had massive support. I had like the whole company supporting, protecting. It was the right place to be. So that plays a huge role. Certainly, to me, it's been paramount in like finding happiness at work. Yeah, it's just
no, definitely. And I'm sure that you learn so much about yourself in that bad environment as well. So I will always say, okay, you want to try, let's try, get the feedback, improve and where you can. But if eventually nothing else changes and you feel that your soul is being crushed every single day, it's time to move on.
And it's true for everything in life, in fact. I think even in entrepreneurship, it plays a big role. Is either you ride the wave and things are just moving easier and you're moving faster and develop and enjoy things because, surfing is fun, or you're swimming against the current. And that's really hard. And yes, you can get really strong, but you won't go far. And so compared to the guy who's surfing in some other direction on a different place, then you feel like you haven't achieved much. But it's been really hard, much harder for you. So getting in the right place when things are flowing in the correct direction, like being in an industry that's growing is way easier than being in an industry that's shrinking just by just whatever happens, right? And so that could be because of what you studied, but it could also be something that you can change. And I think that that makes a huge difference in life satisfaction if you're in a place where things are naturally expanding. So everyone's growing. So certainly, if everyone's growing, then and you're growing, and if you feel good in that space, then you can expand even further, and it just makes things much easier. Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
How would you help someone that doesn't really know what he or she wants to do work-wise and to make it worse after a burnout when she has lost all ambition to grow or climb the ladder?
Okay. If we are talking about a burnout, that is no joke. It really means that that person got into a state when there is physical and emotional exhaustion. So that activates a part of the brain, which is in the middle, is the limbic brain, which associates or which turns feelings and emotions into memories. So when we are in a burnout, we are in complete, we have the limbic brain very sensitive. So that means that anytime we think about going to work, all those emotions and all that cortisol that was released with the stress, with the pain, with the trauma, and everything that was attached with it, it's relieved. So a person who has suffered a burnout needs time. And it's not 1 week, it's not 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it takes months. It takes months. And sometimes they go back to the doctor after 3 months, but because they are already thinking, oh, I need to go back to work, the limbic brain activates again and you start feeling all the stress again. And that's why the doctor says, oh, you are not ready to go back to work. So another month and another month. And many people just changes industries because they cannot bear the thought of going back to what it was before. So in that situation, I would just leave that person to take the break that it's needed to recover, to find the mental strength again, to find a new a new northern light. You see, because to have the ambition and to have the values and to evaluate, you can do at any moment if you are fine. If your prefrontal cortex is working top, then you can do it now. You can do it tomorrow. But if that has been fried with all the stress that you have and only your limbic brain and your reptile brain is in surviving mode, it's the only one that is operating, then you need to give it time to recover. And then eventually, slowly, new ideas are going to start to be generated and maybe new dreams and new passions and new ambitions. So it just needs time, unfortunately, with a burnout.
It's a difficult situation. Empathy is key here, I think, when we're trying to support someone.
Yes, yes. I give a
Thanks.
training on stress management to companies as well, and a lot of people recognize themselves like almost in the last stages, or recognize their loved ones in the last stages of burnout. And then yes, I say, okay, hopefully you don't get there, because it's not like I have pneumonia, I should be fine in a month. No, you don't know how long it's going to take. And many times you cannot go back to where you were before because the limbic brain just cannot take it anymore. Thanks for the answer. Good.
This has been really useful, Judith. Thank you so much for taking those questions, and
You're very welcome.
they're very, very good. Hello.
Just wanted to build on the previous one, but on a more punctual, let's say, facet. How do you help the new generation of people that join the workforce? They don't have, let's say, professional experience. They want to grow, but several things come at play. They don't know where. They just, they think they know, but when you ask certain 2-3 questions and you realize that they just read something, heard something, and so it's kind of really shallow, their understanding of where they want to head, which is fine. But the problem comes on the needed steps so they can achieve something that then they can evaluate and decide the path that they need to get. So as a, let's say, a person with more experience and you want to help them, how can you do that, knowing that it's difficult to talk to them because there are several degrees of separation in years and also in the way of thinking. And yeah, and especially in a really technical environment.
Okay. First of all, Enrique, you need to know that young people, when they come out of university, they really don't know anything. I teach at university, and sometimes even for me, it's like, how can I explain? Because this is so theoretical for them that when I teach the same thing to a company, they immediately see the link and they immediately bring cases and they immediately relate with the reality, with the environment, with the economy, with whatever we're talking about. And when I teach the same thing to my students at university, they are just lost. So yes, they need the time to gather the experience and to understand the industry and to understand the business. And regarding your answer, how you can help them is, I don't want to say testing, but trying to understand their thinking process and helping them to get into your own thinking process. Let me try to give an example. So if you say, if they start as new ones, then you say, okay, you do this by following this step and this step and this step. Just do it like I'm telling you. But the moment you feel like, okay, that's they have managed that, then you can move them to the next level. And the next level will be like, okay, just go out, find information, gather the data, bring it back to me. I will make the decision. And when they bring you the data, you don't shut the door and make the decision on your own, but you say, okay, sit down. You brought me this, and we're going to go for option C because this aligns with the strategy, because this is the vision 2030, because blah, 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 blah. You explain to them what is your thinking process so they start acquiring as much information as possible. Once you see that they are doing well, then you move them to the next level. Go out, find information, gather the data, come back with your suggestions. Here you are testing their thinking process. So they say, oh, I have option A or B. I think we should go for A because this. If it's fine, you say, great, go for it. If you find something that is missing, you give the feedback. Fantastic, your research was well done. I think you are missing this information or this strategy or this something. And good. So for that reason, option B is going to be the best, but you are always giving them feedback to improve. Once they do it on their own, okay, they are ready to take on more responsibility without you having to check all the time. And you can be there to help if there is a fire in the building, but eventually that they can take more responsibility that they can do on their own. Does it make sense?
Totally, I would say, yeah. Yes. The most difficult part for me has been not to jump and try to solve the problem for them, because actually that's the ask from them. Is right. And I feel that they are at some point getting stressed from a really basic task.
Yeah. But then you ask them, okay, what are your suggestions? There is an easy saying as a manager: don't come to me with problems, come with proposals. Come with suggestions. So if you make that a policy, if they are not super junior, if they already have a little bit of experience, then you tell them, hey guys, it's time for you to start taking more responsibility. So whenever there is a problem, please come to me, but please come with your suggestions. And then you listen to their thinking process and then you give feedback. Okay?
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. I think we should keep doing this. We said this was the last question, and I think we'll stop it here to respect your time and also to take the time to thank you for having shared all of this knowledge and advice and expertise with us, and all these kind words of wisdom and empathy and good advice for many of us, I think. And guys, if you agree, I would like to invite you to thank Judith for joining us today, either through your microphone or via messages. If you found this useful, then please let us know and let her know. Now is the time to say thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, Sebastian. It's been really nice to talk to you. And yeah, through the professional development toolkit that I share, I hope that you have some exercises to work on your own career development. And please, my email address is also there. Contact me. I will be happy to give you some feedback. I'll be happy to help you. So let's
Amazing.
get connected. Okay?
Yes, please get in touch with Judith. She's doing amazing work, and I'm sure she can help you too if you have some challenges. Judith, it's been amazing. I'd like to invite you again for more. We will have you as an expert also on the Fire Belgium list of experts or consultants. And obviously, you won't be advising on how on investing or anything like that, but certainly this is such an important part of the financial journey of everyone. And so I want them to have access to you, anyone in the community. So that's going to happen too. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is going to be recorded. It's recorded and it will be released as a video podcast in the weeks to come. It takes time to edit, so it will take a while. But please share this event with others. Share the recording with others. Tell other people about Judith and her work. Suggest if this is something that might be of interest for your company. You might not have to pay for it. You get your company to pay for Judith to help you, either in group or individually. These are all possible options. So it's time to take action. If you need to improve, if you need to change something, then make it happen. And Judith is here to help you. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care and good evening.
Bye.
Good night.
Have a good evening. Bye.